Number one in our preseason top 25 for 2024 is shockingly the Georgia Bulldogs. They have an all-American offensive line. They have an all-American caliber quarterback. They have one of the best coaching staffs. They have like 4 defensive coordinators in Athens right now. They have probably the best roster in America. As I said last year in the playoff, I still think they were one of the 4 best teams. I still think they could have given a run to Michigan or Washington and probably won that national championship game had either of those 2 teams played the way they did in that national championship game. So I'm not sure what you need to add to Georgia here other than coaching, players, athletes, good.
Yeah, won 2 out of the last 3 national championships. If they beat Alabama in 2023, maybe they won it all. So there are many reasons to like Georgia at number 1. There are not many reasons to pick against them at this point. Carson Beck is back, like you said. They added Trevor Etienne from the transfer portal to fill in at running back. Their skill players could be as dynamic as they were this year through the transfer portal. You mentioned the offensive line, defense. I'm just repeating what you said. They're loaded. I think they're the best team in college football next season. And I don't know if there's a sizable gap between 1 and 2, but I think they were a pretty easy decision for me to put them at number 1. I do think what is interesting, though, is their schedule is a lot harder this year than it was last season. I mean, they open with Clemson. They have to go to Texas and to Alabama and to Ole Miss. So they may lose once during the regular season, but I still think by the end of the year, they are my favorite to win it all in 2024.
I think that Alabama game is the first SEC game for Kalen DeBoer. So you have to feel like that is a break for Georgia to go to Tuscaloosa, a place again when they've played in the regular season. Nick Saban has won those games, and so a huge break I think for this year to Georgia to have all this coming back to clearly be the number 1 team. And oh, by the way, Nick Saban's retired, and you're playing at Alabama in Kalen DeBoer's first game. I think that's a big break. Their schedule is significantly more difficult though, so I do not expect an undefeated Georgia. But I agree with you. I do feel like there's a line. For example, in the top 2, I'm going to say the top 2, and we'll get to number 2 in a second. But I think Georgia's clearly number 1 for me, with all that they've got coming back and the most critical pieces coming back, with the best coach in all of college football coming back. It's hard to argue. Now, I think we're going to start to like with the 12-team era, and and how we're recalibrating value and success. That's not going to change for Georgia. They're shooting for a national championship. But I don't think if they get in at 10-2, I wouldn't put it past them to win the whole thing. So
I would not want to play them. Yeah.
Right. Like, so this is where this is a team where the structure changes. Like, if I'm a Georgia fan and they go 10-2, don't overreact, because they're probably still good enough. It's more probably based on the schedule than it is how good they are, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes total sense. I think that the 12-team playoff is going to open the door for teams that go 10-2, 11-1. Maybe in the SEC, maybe in the Big Ten, to make a run because of strength of schedule, obviously, maybe not getting into the top 4 in the past. Well, they will be in this year, and they have the potential to make a deep run. So a lot of, I think to some extent, this is Georgia's revenge tour. Alabama was supposedly going to have one with Bryce Young and Will Anderson coming back, but now Georgia, after missing out on the playoff and national championship in a three-peat, probably going to be motivated to get back this year.
What are they going to? Their offensive line going to line up against the playoff committee? Like they lost one game on a couple of drives to Alabama. They do get that game, so they can revenge them. But I don't. We got to retire the revenge tour thing. Like Georgia got unlucky that other teams were worthy of getting into the playoff last year. Otherwise, any other year they would have gotten in, and they probably would have won the whole damn thing. So maybe or Michigan beats them in a great game. I think they would have beaten Washington. So anyway, I'm not trying to troll anybody here.